So I'm glad to be on with people from a lot of places. I'm from Costa Rica. I currently live in California. Today we're having a beautiful sunshiny day, and you were referring to Jenna about fruit and how fruit. Some places where you go, the fruit is grown, and then people want you to take it. I was lucky enough to be born in Costa Rica, and I was born in a farm, even though my dad was a banker, and so we did a lot of different vegetables and animals, and there was always activity in our farm, and so I I long to be there again, especially after COVID. I do have a place there, and then now I want to get there as more often than not. But in the meantime, we have to help humanity, right? And so, what I've done is I've been a serial entrepreneur, like an entrepreneur. Some things have been very, very successful, some have not. But I think all of us get like two or three good ideas in our lifetime. And I think I burned through one. And I think timing has a lot to do with things. So a year ago, I come from the insurance world, from the income tax world, from the Latino communities in the United States. I produce software for those entities that you see that do immigration services, that do income tax, that do insurance in all the communities throughout the United States. And so that's where I come from. But in meeting with the Mexican consulate about a year and a half ago, they showed me telemedicine. And I, at the time, did not know what it was, but I started getting involved in telemedicine. It's just like a conversation like we all are having now. That's how doctors communicate. But the big difference between that, say, a Zoom call and a call through a system is that through a system, there is a respect for people's privacy, there is HIPAA compliant, and most importantly, in the United States, after a healthcare went through an overhaul doing what they call Obamacare, there was a national database of doctors created. And so if you're a US licensed doctor, you, with the first name, last name, and date of birth of the person, you can look at that person's history. You can see what they've taken for medicine, what medications that have been given to them. Also, you can see what procedures they've ever had. So when a doctor goes online with one of our customers, Acceso Medical, basically they are able to tell them, look, what is it? What are your symptoms? Let's have a conversation. And just looking at their history, they can pretty much see that this person say they used to have healthcare, they had diabetes, and now they don't have healthcare, and they still have the diabetes, but now they can't renew their prescription. So they can do, the doctor will then renew their prescription to the closest pharmacy to them and then give them a huge discount. So this is not healthcare, this is not insurance, it's simply a service. And we've been growing by leaps and bounds. The company's been around now for 10 years. I joined about a year ago, and then COVID hit. Oh my God, have we been busy. And we have been busy in ways that we never thought that we would be. Our model is simple. We were going to the Latino community in the United States. We know that the undocumented needed help. We know that people cannot afford having health insurance in the United States. And so we started promoting. We have 5.3 million users. But now with COVID, there is a huge demand of not going to see the doctor at an urgent care facility or at an emergency room because people don't want to get COVID, right? But on top of that, there is a huge side to the industry in which is growing, which is people have anxiety and people don't know and people need therapy. So we provide both through an app. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what it does. Simple, it's short. 1 second. And so can everybody see my screen? Yes, yes. Yeah, okay. So our company is called Acceso Medical, and we're powered by MeMD. MeMD, we have 3,000 doctors there, plus 2,500 doctors in our waiting list, and our company is growing by leaps and bounds. You can see where we've seen it, but basically we have an app, and the app has a medical side to it. So a person requests a medical visit, they complete the visit, they enter the waiting room, and then they meet the doctor. And then the doctor decides what this person needs, and then they provide a prescription, and we treat all kinds of things, allergies, bites, the same things that you would go see a regular doctor for, but you wouldn't go to 911. And then we're able to give the person a way to get their prescription, to see the doctor without having to go anywhere. and the eligibility is simple. And we try to, with every person that buys it, we let their family do it for free as well. So it's a way for us to really help in the industry. And this is, I just wanted to show you guys this briefly to show you what we do, but much more than that, I want to put myself at your in your contacts, if Warren, if you need anything, because as a result of starting this and with COVID, now what has happened is that we have a huge request for specific programs. For example, the country of Haiti does not have any type of telemedicine, and it makes sense for them to use it, especially to see specialists. So we're developing that program for them. The city of Santa Ana in the United States, in California, they need to have a better way to be able to reach out to people without them having to come into their clinics, right? So keep them away and keep them in a healthier environment. There's many ways to keep people healthier, and one of them is technology. And so that's what we do. I don't know if anybody has any questions, or I don't know how long I have, but certainly I can take questions. We're also working with the country of Costa Rica, where I'm from. I used to be the Trade Commissioner of Costa Rica in Los Angeles. So anything, any of you ever want anything with Costa Rica, I'm your person. I'm going to leave my information here in case if anybody needs it. And let me know if you need anything, and glad to have participated. Hello.
I have a question for you, Andre.
Yeah.
What are some of the main challenges that you've seen with this model and this approach? Like what are still the things that kind of keep you up at night when you're trying to roll this out?
Not really. The program has been tested for 9 years. For me, what's most difficult is to see what everybody is going to need. You know, like for example, we're working with the fire department down in South Florida, where they don't want to have to bring the patient all the way to the emergency room because they don't want to bring people close to viruses. So through their iPad, we're able to produce the doctor on site in the sidewalk, let's say, wherever they are. And if it is something that can be treated by a specialist, we can do that through there. And then it saves everybody time, and it saves everybody resources. And actually, the ambulance people make a better living this way because they're able to make a little bit more than taking the person to the hospital, basically being paid for taking the person to the hospital, right? So they're a little bit more involved. With over time, I believe that most people are going to see the doctors this way and this way only, because unless you have something specific, the doctor can order lab tests. They can do things that can be done remotely without having to see the doctor. Most of the time that is spent to see a doctor is by going to the doctor, waiting for the appointment, and it's an old model. I think that what COVID has done is it's changed all that. And so now even doctors are signing on for us, with us, for example, because they have, say, 3 clinics or three office, 3 different locations. And so we are able to put all the doctors that they have, say 3 or 4 of them, and they're able to distribute their schedule a lot better without having to be jumping from office to office to office. Most of the time that you go to an urgent care, you actually have, you pay $100 to $150 to see a nurse. You don't even see the doctor. And the reason why they're charging you is to take the blood, to take the vitals, to justify the fee. And so I think this technology is going to change medicine in a big way. It's already doing so.
Yeah, I think this is so important, knowing kind of if you go to any emergency room in the United States, you see a ton of people who don't have access to healthcare, health insurance. And, by rolling out something like this, it's so important. I always think about how much we should focus on getting this technology in the hands of those people so they don't have to sit in an emergency room every time they have a cold.
Yeah, my goal is to bring technology to the masses, especially to those that don't. The fact of the matter is, all of us have more technology in our hands now than ever before, and there's so many different ways to use them, and one of them is to provide them the professionals that they need without them having to go to those professionals. And why not start with medicine, right? Our program is $149 for the year, and that includes unlimited visits to the doctor, up to 10 people that are dependents from them. And so it's extremely inexpensive. If you were to go to the largest telemedicine company in the United States, it's called Teledoc. The whole time right now, because of COVID, is up to an hour and a half, where ours this morning was 37 minutes. Before COVID, used to be less than 20. And a Teledoc charges $49 each time they see the doctor. We charge them $149 for the whole year, and they can see the doctor as many times as they want, and without any copay, and give them a significant discount on the medicine. It has to change. Either it changes politically or it changes through technology. But the way that today health is dispensed is just a big waste of funds, and a lot of middlemen and a lot of billing in between organizations, when at the end of the day you got to concentrate on and focus on what is the result, what is it that the person needs. And most of the time they just need to see the doctor to renew a prescription, right? And if they don't do it, then matters get worse, right? So it's about preventive medicine too, which is sort of foreign to most people in the United States, unless you have health insurance, and that's not everybody, right? So,
Andre, a quick question for you. One of the big issues around health is the trust with the professionals you're working with in terms of this area. Have you come across any issues and how you've dealt with those in terms of when working through an application like this? It's much harder to build personal relationships and the trust. And the second part of that trust is how you store, retain, and use data that's picked up from that. What have you kind of done in regards to those kind of areas?
So one of the things is we keep our platform and our doctor app and our doctors separate from our marketing company. So they have no connection, and only the doctors can see the information about the people, just like HIPAA requires in the United States. And so our involvement is just to bring the users to this platform. But in the 9 years that he has been around, he has never had any issues. All the doctors are above just being doctors, and they're certified. See, what has happened in the United States is primary doctors don't make as much money as you think they do. They make very little. If you're a doctor in the United States, you have student loan to pay, and you make very little unless you become a specialist on something. So those people have to make a living. So with us, for example, what we do with doctors is out of 8-hour shift, we pay them for the last 2 hours, and they're there whether we get customers or not. And so they get paid by hour with us, right? So in some instances, they make more money with us than seeing a bunch of people in those 2 hours, right? They see people faster through our system. So therefore they can collect money faster and make money faster. That's their incentive. And most people think that doctors make this huge amount of money, but they don't. And as a result, we have 3,000 doctors on our platform, but we have 2,500 doctors waiting to get on our platform as well. Where it's different in some other platforms. And some platforms charge more, some charge less, some give you registered nurses, and some give you, like us, we give you the actual doctors. So if any of you are interested in doing it in your area, we have now a platform where we can do white label too, if you're interested, depending on the volume of communities that you can bring together. You know, we work with churches, we work with large groups of sales organizations, because you know, it has become sort of a membership for their members too, in order to protect their families. So there's many ways to use this product. I mean, we also promote it heavily through business owners, especially now anybody that is an essential worker, whether it's a grocery store, a takeout restaurant, or anybody that comes in contact with other people. They need an extra protection, and a lot of them don't have health insurance. So this is a way to do that, to provide them an ability to have a little bit more protection for them and their family. And a lot of times, because it's so inexpensive, the employer just buys it for them. Right. I'm curious to know, how did this get started? How did this group get started? I think you're muted, Stuart. So who started the group? And who's in the group?
I don't know. I came in to listen to Jenna originally. So and I met with Jenna in another room where we were with another lady called Diane, talking about something different but related to it. So we've kind of evolved a conversation that's kind of like a river, kind of meanders through the different rooms, and things kind of ebb and flow from it. So you know, it's interesting, because there's a lot of different discussions of different kind of levels, from what I consider more kind of grounded economics and details around that, right through to quite ethereal subjects around music and other perspectives. So yeah, it's, and I have a few friends who are speaking here anyway at various parts through the well, I say through the night, because it's 1:20 in the morning here. So
that's good.
But it's worth staying up for, definitely.
Well, it's 5 p.m. here, so 5:18 p.m. in California.
Yeah.
They have the sun on, as you can see.
I know. Yeah, no, I have the dark behind me, so. That's good. That's really interesting. It's interesting. I've got another question for you, Mike. Actually, Andre, are there many competitors? I mean, are you coming across kind of competition in terms of this type of application or similar kind of elements?
Well, it was surprising, because in 9 years in this industry, their competition, everybody's busy and now busier. So there is no competition really. It's just about keeping your hold times low so you can still take in more users, right? And a lot of them have reached capacity. And the largest one, Teledoc, cannot add any new users until August, right? Because they just have so many millions. We have 5.4. They must have like 10 million. And so there is not as many platforms as you would think. There is a lot of marketing arms trying to sell, and so, but it's still a blue ocean, but even bluer in the Latino space. You know, we have no competition. In fact, I think we're building a new brand for our competition, for ourselves, because in Latin America, there is a lot of need for this, and it's not used. Just to give you an example, in my country, Costa Rica, I live in a weird space because I spent a time in Costa Rica, which has handled COVID better than most, and I live in the United States that has handled COVID the worst. So it's like I talked to my brother who works for Amazon, but in Costa Rica, and I talked to somebody here. They're all stressed out in Costa Rica. They're very relaxed, but even in Costa Rica, they need telemedicine. Even though they have a great government program, Costa Rica has no army. It's very peaceful. But the money that used to go to the army goes to health and to education. And so even they want to start talking with us about building out an app for their citizens, right? Because in Costa Rica, even though it's a small country, is very proactive about about technology. In fact, when you're born in Costa Rica, you're given an email address whether you want it or not. And the reason why that is because the thinking was that no Costa Rican could ever be left behind. And so if they have a digital way of finding them, they will always be found. And so they really want to be on the edge of technology. And I think by having telemedicine available on people's phones, what better than having the doctor be with you instead of you having to go to the doctor? So it's an interesting service, and I think that for anybody that is looking to see what are those things that are going to be around and going to be continually growing, is telemedicine. I don't see any real competition, right? And I think that is nothing but blue skies and helping people.
Andre, I posted a question on the chat, and you showed us your features very quickly, but because there's an overwhelming amount of requests for your services,
yeah.
Are you seeing that doctors and patients are requesting more features on your app? Such as
what?
Pardon me?
Such as what you were going to say?
Well, I'm sure that the doctors, if they're prescribing anything, so a lot of the doctors can't follow up in person, even if they're in close proximity, just because of the distancing. So are you seeing that the doctors are so I would assume that if doctors are giving prescriptions and so forth, that they're actually doing it directly out of their own resources. But are there services? There may be none, but you have a very strong network of doctors that have used your network for a long time. Are they saying, can you add this or that to it, such as?
Yeah, we can do custom programs. This program I just showed you is our biggest program because it's the one that is just bare bones, right? So you see a doctor, you get a prescription if you need it. If you need a COVID test, they can schedule you one for free. If you have a scratch, if you have some kind of rash, some kind of short of breath, different things, right? Anything you would see a primary doctor for, but we certainly have other services, like for example, therapists. I just don't have it on this presentation because I'm just showing you the easiest way to grasp what telemedicine is, and it's our core product. But we offer, which we think is going to be very, very in need now, is therapy. So a person can also go into our app if they have paid for therapy, and so they get a first appointment with a therapist, and then that therapist determines how many sessions that person will have. And so those sessions will then be scheduled, and then the cost is so much lower than even if you had insurance to be able to cover for those therapy sessions. So that's our second most popular service. We also offer combos of both, right? But we also have his and hers medicine. We have also cannabis for doctors, right? But those are just smaller products that really, we're so busy with just this, right? But we do offer some of those other things. We don't actively promote them right now.
You're offering ancillary products, and I'm just wondering if the doctors have made any specific requests, or the patients have made any specific requests for what's needed now to address, whatever fears they might have with COVID, like tests, you said. So do you have a source for tests that you can offer, or?
Yeah, we schedule our members, our users. Basically the doctor will ask them several questions, and then the doctor will determine at that time if they are in need for a test, and then he will schedule it for them right away to the closest location to them.
Okay, I'll take a look at your site.
Yeah. So we're MeMD in English and Acceso Medical in Spanish. But if you're interested into knowing more, yeah, we can certainly do. It's very modular. We can add things and take things off. For example, last week we started our dentist telemedicine. we didn't know. We thought that always dentists have to see the patient, but not in this case. People are very finicky right now about having somebody so close to your mouth, right? And so there are certain things that can be done off-site. So by the time that the dentist sees the person, they're only seeing that person for when they're going to touch him, not prior to that. Everything from the exam, everything can be done online, can be done through telemedicine. So yeah, we're constantly running into different uses of it. A lot of people don't know about it, and so that's why I think that the growth is there.
Hi, I'm super interested in who your main patient is right now, because it seems like what you're providing is very like reactive care. So in like the world of wellness, it's, hey, let me go get an IV, let me take this supplement, having sort of that curated, personalized care. So like you're definitely addressing a huge market on the back end. It's not sick care, but it's reactive care. So I'm sort of curious, like who falls under that, who your target patient is, and who you're really serving. Is it families? Is it a middle-aged woman in the middle of nowhere?
Well, our division, Acceso Medical, service mainly Latinos throughout the United States. And that's our strength, right? And so and that's primarily families. So one person for 149 has their whole family covered, and they're all under their policies, or they're not their policy, but their service contract. So then those people are our biggest customer. But then under our other division, we have one called TeleAccess MD, and that one is for churches and people that go to church, right? So there's another, we have different brands. We have Complete Health Solutions. That one is more for the employers, right? So different types of industries have different approaches. So also different services that we offer to them.
Interesting. And is it all under the same app? Or do you have different variations of the UI?
Different variations. We also have white labels, right? So we have access to the technology to be able to produce the app under your company name, right? Depends on the amount of production of users that you would have. But for example, MeMD, if you were to get Aflac, if you're familiar in the United States, there's a company called Aflac with a doc, which is accidental insurance. The telemedicine services that they will sell you is ours, is MeMD. So they have 2 million people with us. Aetna Health Insurance Company in the United States has almost 1 million people with MeMD. And so a lot of other companies use our service.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So Lily Sue, I will put my phone number so you can give me a call.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. And also my email. My email is simple, latinamerican@me.com.
Cool.
There's a question here about Mexico. It mentions stuff about, for example, the packaging and waste on the cards. This is not related necessarily for my topic of telemedicine, but I can tell you, I am familiar with the huge problems that are happening in Mexico. In fact, a lot of our doctors do telemedicine for free into Mexico, especially in Tijuana right now, which is right now without traffic. I can be there in 2 hours from where I am in California. Tijuana has in their main hospital is very little doctors. A lot of them got COVID, and they're running full of patients, and they have like two doctors, really literally two doctors. So a lot of our doctors are helping there by providing their services through telemedicine. Yeah, Donata's my information. I'll put it for you on the chat. A second. And use my phone. My name is Andre. And my phone number.
Hello, Andre. Just want to chip in, if nobody minds, to ask a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Great. I just actually woke up. I checked the topic, and it was very interesting because I'm currently also working on one app related to kind of wellness, and then I had some painful experiences, but then I see that this is such a great job that you do, and I had some question related to, have you had any experience with this specific app when people would need some support communicating, such as coaching, such as counseling, or mental support, I would say, mental health?
Yeah, we do mental health. I was just mentioning that probably prior of you coming in. What I was showing right here on this app is just the primary care, but we also offer therapy through therapists, through licensed therapists. And so the way we do it is the person makes the first appointment, the therapist determines how many sessions, and then from there that person will pay for that many sessions, and it's typically half the price that they would get anywhere else. And so that's another program we offer, and it's very it's getting a lot of traction right now during COVID.
And just a technical question, how does it work? Usually audio or video as well, and what's the feedback?
It's up to the individual how they want it. When they're making the appointment on the app, they would choose, do they want a video conference or do they want a phone call? Either or. And also they can pick Spanish, if they can pick Spanish they want, or English. Our app on the desktop you can completely switch it into Spanish as well.
I also heard you mention that it's possible to, is not a white label. What was the question I want to ask? Is something that if somebody would have an idea, then and they would like to have that service, they would need additional app, or it's like somehow integrated into the bigger web page. I don't know even how to technically ask correctly, but like if there would be a coaching service with the multiple coaches and the integration would be needed, so you would develop the app, or you somehow offer other solutions as well?
Well, we offer other solutions. We have developed the app, and it's very customizable to what you need. So depending on the amount of users that you will have and the kind of program that you want to build, then we can help you with finding the right doctor network to put on it, and then also the right features to be added. It's modular, right? So I don't want to assume that because you're in Greece, or are you?
No, I'm in Bali, but I'm from Lithuania originally.
Oh, Lithuania.
But I work with clients. I work with clients basically in different countries.
Okay, so any of the countries that you work with, they might or might not already have a platform in which the doctors are able to see patients. If they don't, we can help you with creating that. If they do, we can help you compete with it if it is not something that just is state run and that's the only option. Whichever way you think of telemedicine, we probably have already worked with somebody doing that.
Yes.
Right? So what I'm saying is, if you want to reach out to me offline, we can actually, you can tell me what the needs or the possibilities that you might have with this type of prospects, and then I can tell you if I can help you. One thing that I realized when I came into telemedicine is that there is, unlike other industries, all that you find in the market, at least in the United States, that what I've seen is all you can find is either this module, and that's it. What we've created here is kind of like a wholesale. Let's see what you need. We already have the platform built that is very wide, but let's build a process just for you that is only for your audience, right? And let's market that and let's label that, and we can do that. Before
that's great.
But we just finished the technology to where we can do that. Yeah, it's funny because go ahead.
And yeah, that's great. It's almost like a big, well, it's for the client, but I guess for the client who's using the service, it's also very, very good to have a pick on demand, almost like what they specifically need. So it's customizable. That's great. My question is about the language as well. So I would have to find, let's say, a translator, or somehow we would possibly work on that together. If I would have to, I would like to offer Russian or some other language.
Yeah, we can. I know we have the platform in 6 different languages. I don't know if Russian is one, but we can work on it. That's not it's not as difficult. Yeah.
Wow, awesome. That's great. Well, these are the questions. Thank you, and congrats for a great job. It sounds quite flowing, so that's amazing to have that in technology project. So well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. And for any,
I'll grab your contacts as well. Yeah.
Awesome. But for any of you that are interested in telemedicine, you might be out there looking for something, but there is a new abnormal, and that new abnormal requires for people to be touchless. And I think telemedicine is an industry that's going to continue to grow. Just to leave you guys with this, in 2010, there was 1 million users in the United States of telemedicine. Today, there's 20 million of people using it. And it was expected by 2025 to be at 100 million. Now, with the awareness of telemedicine, because of the president and everybody else mentioning it continuously, we expect that by 2025, there will be 200 million people using telemedicine. And so the industry is just starting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Andre, there is somebody on the chat also asked whether you have any visual diagnostic features.
That's hardware. I was just showing you software, but we are able to create a clinic without a doctor present by providing these systems that can basically take all the vital signs, and we can put it, say, in a location, and then the doctor comes in through the flat screen. So if you think about it that way, we have there's a lot of potential growth, and you are able to, through telemedicine, repurpose a lot of space, especially retail space, because the doctor is always going to be there. All we need is to provide the tools. So yes, we provide that. It's sort of a kit for industries of all different sizes. We do it for unions.
That's a physical space, right?
Yeah.
Versus say over whatever is prompted visually.
Yeah, but the doctor is always going to come in through the screen.
Oh, I understand.
The tools will be there. And sometimes we might require a licensed practitioner there to administer, depending on the jurisdiction. and the law for that jurisdiction.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you directly. Thanks,
Awesome.
Andre.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Great.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks from my side. And I think that Cristobal is coming in. Hello, Cristobal. Welcome. Christian Nicolai, welcome. Yes, this is my US number.
You're talking about venture capital?
No, telemedicine. We just finished. I don't know who's next.
Okay, good. Okay. So it's 8:30. There should be. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, Adrian. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good, good. What's on your mind? Do you have any questions on telemedicine?
I just joined, so I missed everything that you said. So I don't have any questions.
Good. I don't know who's next, so I'm basically done with my presentation. But just know I'm Adrian. I'm the guy in case if you need to know about telemedicine, and my number is on the chat.
All kinds of medicine or a specific kind of medicine?
Telemedicine, I'm based out of the United States, and we have an app that offers telemedicine. Yeah, all of telemedicine.
Oh, telemedicine. Okay, all right.
Yeah, seeing the doctor on the screen or on the phone.
That's good. That's good. What about mental telemedicine?
Yeah, we do therapy. Yeah, we talked about that. We do therapy as well as primary care.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, where are you based out of?
I'm in Dublin, Ireland.
Okay, in Ireland. So if they don't have a telemedicine therapy or telemedicine primary care in Ireland, then contact me. We can work together if you have some people that might, or companies or groups that might be interested into going into telemedicine. You know, I'm from Costa Rica, and depending on the country, they either embrace telemedicine, they don't know about telemedicine, or they're looking to get into telemedicine, especially with COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense anyway. I mean, like, there's no point like going to a doctor when he's gonna just say, "This, what's wrong with you?" And he's gonna spend like 5-10 minutes. And he's
Yeah,
gonna say, "What's wrong with you?" And it's a waste of time.
it is. It is the amount of time, the how long it takes to get to an appointment. You know, it's a lot.
Hi,
Yeah.
Andre. I had a quick question since
Yes,
you're
Andre.
here anyways.
Yeah.
So I actually helped a friend who's a cardiovascular surgeon start his company, well, seed his company rather. And primarily because I've just had a dodgy medical history, so a very good stress test of medical system. Call it Canada. And then UK. Canada, we've had telehealth for a little while.
Yeah.
Not well, telemedicine to a certain extent now because of the pharmacies, because we need to have licensed dispensers, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, the reason why I asked that question about visuals because the community of doctors I'd like to put you in touch with for one.
Yeah.
And the reason why I liked it was because I wanted to take the power away from a singular doctor and put patient diagnostics in terms of group thinking on a vertical so that you can have interjecting responses on a particular symptom, call it, right? And in that way, I would assume it would help social healthcare programs save money. So that's one. On the second, at the moment, I'm backing a biotech company that's we're looking at um, building antibodies for COVID-19, but bi-specific, so attacking directly the virus rather than IgM-based kits that that have sort of a massive error percentage, right? We'll have that later in the year, but that's in Canada. And the sister company, we're looking at building non-opioid pain medications based on cannabinoids, but they're synthetically derived rather than natural. So we
Okay.
built the exact strain that we want out of yeast, and that's in Toronto. So my question on the visual front was more in the sense that there's a company I encountered through a university. It's a startup, but it's using visual cues on, say, mental health, and looking at your facial muscular responses
Yeah.
or your retina movement and so on, in order to start profiling your subset to be, say, you're going to get dementia. That's one of the long-term symptoms or conditions they want to look at. Is that, are those things, do you think, incorporatable into your system?
Yeah.
You're saying,
Basically, all that I need in order to be able to help
yeah,
is you have to have, it's like anything, right? You have to have your tribe, you have to have your
yeah,
followers, right? And you
yeah,
have to have your experts, right? So this telemedicine is not
sure,
only for doctors, it could also be for chiropractors, it could also be for um,
natural health,
people that dispense herbs, you
sure,
know, it doesn't matter. Oh, I already have the technology and the
okay,
know-how
yeah,
as to how to bring you guys together, right? And how to do it in a safe and private way. And everything you just mentioned is just a matter of in the setup. How do we set it? How do we set up the technology? So
okay,
if you have a group of experts and you have a potential following audience, right?
yes.
I'll help you with how to build that bridge,
Yeah,
right?
brilliant. I'd love to do that because we've just surpassed on the other app about 1 million medical professionals, and they come from different verticals. And the idea being is to supplant why do doctors meet at conferences? What do they talk about, right? And certain new innovative areas. My brother-in-law is trialing robotic surgery in myelofascial area. And so those are the things where, touching upon patient anxiety and so on is more
Yeah,
important rather than the accuracy, because that's robotics.
and also a lot of times you might have a bunch of information. Say somebody gets diagnosed with XYZ pain,
Sure.
and then they want to get an opinion from somebody else. That usually takes a referral from the doctor and takes. With our system, you're able to get that. You're able to set it up to where you can have a second, a third, a fourth opinion, right?
Got it.
And so there's many ways we can build. It's just technology. We build it however we need to.
So how does the system integrate where healthcare is a public system? Do you partner
Um,
up with, or would it stay as a private competition kind of thing?
I just interject here in that, like, I hate the fact that healthcare, like, information is so guarded. You know, like, that should be way more open. Like, the
yeah,
fact that, like, you know, like, when you go to your doctor, like, I've had the experience recently where I go to my doctor and I tell them something that's wrong with me, and I tell them, like, I should maybe have this thing, and they are Googling it, what to figure out what it is. So
right,
I
right.
think, like, that's like a,
Well,
you
that's
know,
actually my frustration because I find doctors, sorry to say, but I don't know if anyone's a doctor here, but in regards, when they're trained in a silo discipline, they get tunnel visioned more and more. So
Yeah.
doing horizontal analysis or thinking is completely either they're not doing it because of liability reasons, or it's repetitive conditioning. So for example, over 17 years after so many referrals and whatever, finally a neuroscience trained psychologist identified a particular brain type that I have after all of those things. And imagine the amount of public capital that's been drained through, and similar respects with between, say, neurology and cardiology. I've had a personal experience with. And part of it is those two verticals don't talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
Other than on a symptomatic file, and they would have noticed various different symptoms of the patient based on the circumstance you brought them in, right? Because they're visually observing you, or they put you through certain tests, and those indicators differ. So,
So you were asking me, how does it work when it comes to a country that has their own
public health system.
Yeah, so we would help them by uploading all their doctors,
Right.
uploading all their clinics, uploading all their specialists, and what clinic does what and what does what. And
Yeah.
then you'll be a lot more efficient instead of the specialist running around the system, or the patient running around the system to go see the specialist. It would be derived right away. Okay, this person needs this specialist. Let's put him to see this. It doesn't matter where they are in the country.
Right.
To put the specialists on, and this works very well for rural areas and underdeveloped areas as well.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Yeah. So
Good job.
cool.
Thank
Very
you.
good, everybody. Thanks, everybody. See
Well
you
done.
soon.
Cheers.
Man, I started drinking wine. I'm gonna go drink some wine.
Yes. Brilliant. See you.
Oh,
Thanks, man.
bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.